You've been told for years that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself in that Manhattan jail cell back in 2019. Suicide, end of story, case closed. Move along, nothing to see here. But we've been reporting for years that he's still alive, that investigators in Israel have tracked him down, that he's Mossad, that he was exfiltrated from his cell in Manhattan in a military operation and expatriated to Israel, like thousands of other paedophiles seeking safe haven. The officials have denied our reports. Media and fact-checkers have attacked us relentlessly. But today, February the 26th, 2026, everything changes. The latest tranche of Epstein files, straight from the DOJ, just dropped a bombshell that the mainstream media is under orders to cover up. We're talking hard-documented medical contradictions that make the official narrative crumble like a house of cards. Before we dive in, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and join the People's Voice Locals community to join our incredible community, support the channel, and gain access to exclusive and uncensored content. Hours before the official announcement of Jeffrey Epstein's death, a verified MCC correctional officer, posting anonymously on 4chan as an insider, described seeing him wheeled out the night before in a medical chair, loaded into an unauthorized van, and whisked away. We were told it was fake news, a 4chan LARP. But now, thanks to the Epstein files, we know that the feds subpoenaed everything. 4chan, Apple, AT&T, Citibank, to unmask the poster the very next day. Turns out, he was exactly who he claimed. On-duty staffer Roberto Grijalva. The official Epstein suicide narrative is finished, destroyed by the 2026 files. And when you see the medical record mismatches we've got coming up, you'll understand why nobody in the prison ever bought the suicide story.
You were in the same prison as Jeffrey Epstein.
Yes.
What do you think happened?
Jeffrey Epstein would have to be a magician to try to hang himself in that cell. I was in that cell. There's no way there's nothing on the ceiling. The bedpost is this high. I couldn't even go to a restroom without them walking back and forth and having me on camera. You know, there's no way he committed suicide.
So you reckon he was killed?
Yeah,
why?
I believe that. I mean, look, there's no doubt there was powerful people involved with him, 100%.
Here's the core of what these files expose. The official autopsy report from the New York City Chief Medical Examiner describes the body they examined as having a slightly and diffusely enlarged prostate. A detail noted in the post-mortem findings, consistent with a man in his late 60s but very much present and intact. Yet, buried in Epstein's own private medical records, emails, notes from consultations with his urologists, and lab results referenced in the newly unsealed documents, the evidence points to something radically different. Proof that Jeffrey Epstein had undergone prostate removal, a radical prostatectomy. We're seeing references to post-surgical expectations, PSA levels discussed in the context of having no prostate left, and direct confirmation from his communications that the gland was gone. Think about that for a second. The autopsy of the suicide corpse says he had an enlarged prostate. Epstein files say his prostate was surgically removed years earlier. These two cannot coexist in the same body. This isn't some minor clerical error. This is a glaring mismatch in the physical evidence of the corpse. If the prostate was removed, as Epstein's medical history strongly suggests, the autopsy should show surgical absence, scarring, or nothing at all. Instead, they found one that was enlarged and fully intact. What does that mean? It means the body they pulled out of that cell and autopsied on August the 11th, 2019 was not Jeffrey Epstein. He didn't hang himself. He didn't die in federal custody. Jeffrey Epstein is alive. And the powers that be, the same ones who protected him for decades while he ran his trafficking network for the global elites, have been covering up this medical impossibility ever since. This isn't conspiracy theory. This is conspiracy fact. These are official DOJ releases. Autopsy summaries, medical correspondence, lab notes. The raw documents they try to bury under redactions and delays. Why hide this? Why the frantic redaction fixes, the missing pages, the technical errors, and the selective releases? Because the truth threatens everything. The official story, the suicide ruling, the idea that justice was served. But the cat is out of the bag now. Epstein didn't kill himself because the man in that morgue wasn't him. He's out there. Hiding, watching, laughing, playing video games, shipping containers, blackmailing major politicians. And the questions are only beginning. Who was the body double? How deep does this go? What else are they still hiding in those unreleased files? And where is Ghislaine Maxwell? Because she sure as hell isn't serving time in the federal prison system. Stay with us, because beyond the autopsy photos are overlooked medical files, inconsistencies in height, injury patterns, and timelines that don't add up. Today's sponsor is pillsforever.com. If you think Big Pharma have your best interests at heart, think again. The price of medicine in America has skyrocketed, and there are certain medicines Big Pharma don't want you to know about. That's why I've partnered with pillsforever.com. All of their FDA-approved medicines are the cheapest you'll find anywhere. More importantly, you can order medicines that Big Pharma don't want you to have, such as ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and fenbendazole. Speaking of fenbendazole, not only does it get rid of parasites that live inside your body, there have been studies that show fenbendazole can help with cancer. Listen to this bombshell interview with Mel Gibson, who says 3 of his friends who had terminal cancer were cured by the very same ivermectin and fenbendazole available at pillsforever.com.
I have 3 friends. All 3 of them had stage 4 cancer. All 3 of them don't have cancer right now at all. And they had some serious stuff going on.
And what did they take?
Jesus. They took some, what you've heard they've taken.
Ivermectin?
Fenbendazole.
Fenbendazole, yeah. I'm hearing that a lot.
They drank hydrochloride something or other.
Get 15% off using coupon code People's Voice at the checkout. Please click the link below this video to take advantage of this fantastic offer. The mystery doesn't stop with the prostate contradiction. Oh no. The autopsy photos from those 2026 Epstein file drops reveal an even more glaring red flag that screams this wasn't Jeffrey Epstein on that slab. Let's break it down point by point, because these aren't tiny details, they're screaming mismatches that the official story can't explain away. First, the ears. We're not talking about some minor marking or lobe difference. The entire shape and structure of the ears on the corpse are completely off compared to the real Epstein. The cartilage folds, the outer rim, the way they sit against the head. It's a different design altogether. These ears belong to 2 different men. Then there's the nose. The corpse shows a noticeable curvature veering to the left, almost like a hook or break. But Epstein's real nose in every verified photo from his life curves distinctly to the right. Not subtle, not angle trickery. A clear reversal in direction that no amount of swelling or post-mortem changes can fake. Zoom in further. The distance between the eyes on the body is wider, measurably more spread out, giving the face a broader, less pinched look than Epstein's signature close-set eyes. And the eyebrows? The corpse has thicker, angrier, more arched brows that sit lower and heavier on the forehead. Epstein's were thinner, more arched upwards in a different pattern. Calmer, more refined. Again, not the same person. The elite want you to believe it's all coincidence, aging, lighting, or conspiracy nonsense. But when you line them up, ears, nose, eyes, brows, the impossible healing, the math doesn't lie. The body was not Jeffrey Epstein, he played dead. They staged the whole thing. So, who did they swap him out for? Just weeks earlier, on June the 7th, 2019, Hillary Clinton's brother Tony Rodham died at 64. The family announced it quietly. No detailed cause released publicly. No big media autopsy dive. Just gone. Now line up the photos from the files and public records. The suicide corpse on the gurney, the ears match Rodham's identically. The nose, same prominent bridge, length and subtle profile curve. The eyebrows seal it. Thicker, heavier, more arched and lowered. Exactly Rodham's look. Not Epstein's thinner, refined style. Lauren the mortician agrees the official narrative has been completely obliterated. She's here to explain more.
I will weigh in from a mortuary science perspective, if I can. And, well, I was sent something that I had not seen, and I was glad it was sent. I recently watched an interview on Megyn Kelly's podcast where Jeffrey Epstein's brother appeared as a guest. And during that interview, he shared autopsy photos of Jeffrey Epstein, including one of his neck area. I had never seen it before. I can't believe I've never seen it before. Why aren't we talking about this? Because when I saw saw it, I paused. I actually questioned if it was real, but his brother provided the photos, so they have to be real. They're real. Because I've been on real death scenes, just like Epstein's alleged cause of death. I understand what gravity does to a body. I understand what compression does to skin. And the markings on Jeffrey Epstein's body do not look textbook to me. Jeffrey Epstein's brother, Mark Epstein, is his legal next of kin. And he didn't find out from prison officials, from the medical examiner, from anybody official, really, that his brother had died. He found out from watching CNN, which is wild to me. Notifying the next of kin after a death is like death investigation 101. There's proper protocol, but it wasn't done here. So Mark, feeling something is amiss, something is off, he hires Dr. Michael Baden to observe the autopsy. Dr. Baden, if you don't know who he isn't just some internet doctor with a hot take. This was really interesting to read about. He's a forensic pathologist who has been involved in some of the most high-profile cases in modern American history. He's worked on cases connected to JFK, O.J. Simpson, George Floyd, Aaron Hernandez. He's served as chief medical examiner of New York City. He has decades of experience examining bodies and testifying in court. And what Dr. Baden publicly said afterward is what made this story explode, because it wasn't just about the fractures. He also stated he believed the time of death for Jeffrey Epstein to be about 4:30 in the morning, roughly 2 hours before he was reportedly found. And then there were the fractures. He noted 3 fractures in Epstein's neck, not 1, 3. The left thyroid cartilage, the right thyroid cartilage, and the hyoid bone. And he stated that in his decades of reviewing jail suspension, catch my drift, he had never seen 3 fractures like that in what was ruled a self-unaliving. And there is one thing that is incredibly common in suspension cases like this. People almost always leave themselves a way to adjust the pressure. They kneel on their knees, they lean forward, they shift their weight into it. And that lean of the person is everything. You have to picture the gravity of the situation, literally, okay? When someone leans forward into that position, gravity pulls downward on the body and then upward on the material. You following me? The mark or the wound, right? It doesn't just sit straight across the middle of the neck. It tracks upward, it climbs, and it moves towards the point of suspension. Often you'll see it like angling up behind the ear, up toward the jawline, because the body is pulling against it. That upward movement is extremely common. That is what I've seen. That's what we see. I almost wish I could take my hands and I don't even know. You would see it. When I look at that image that Jeffrey Epstein's brother provided in that interview, what stands out to me is that the marking appears more mid-neck and pretty much horizontal, right? It doesn't present with that strong upward tracking that I am used to seeing in cases where someone has leaned forward into a suspension point. There even appears to be what looks like a secondary pattern behind it. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it looks that way. Almost like a layered compression. Jeffrey Epstein's buttocks was suspended from the ground when the guards walked in that morning. His feet were out in front of him and he had to be cut down. Again, I would expect to see more upward angulation from the photos, and I just don't see that here. And that's the part that makes me pause the most, because the body doesn't lie. People do. So now we need to talk about the CPR, circling back, because this part bothers me too. If someone has been without circulation for hours, and again, Dr. Baden is suggesting a possible earlier time of death, the body does not feel freshly collapsed. It cools. The skin changes. Blood starts settling. The body starts doing what bodies do when they've been gone for a bit. And I'm sorry, but if you've ever been around a person who has clearly been deceased for a while, you know. But when you add that to everything else, the earlier incident, the removal from watch protocol, the cellmate being gone, the missing checks on the inmates, the camera malfunction, it doesn't calm the narrative, it makes it louder. I'm not saying I know exactly what happened in that cell, but I am saying that when I look at the totality of this medically, mechanically, procedurally, is that a word? Anyways, it does not feel clean. And then on top of everything, you're going to tell the public that a high-profile federal inmate died alone in his cell and there's no camera footage? We're talking about a federal facility, not a motel, not a storage unit, a locked, monitored housing unit. And yet the camera that would have captured direct activity directly outside of his cell, the one that would have shown who came and who went, who approached the door and who didn't, it wasn't functioning properly that night?
No wonder those who knew Jeffrey Epstein best, his own family, have always rejected the official suicide story as laughable nonsense. His brother Mark Epstein didn't just doubt it. He straight up laughed out loud when he heard FBI Director Kash Patel doubled down on the narrative.
Who do you think did it?
Well, you get Bill Barr, who was the Attorney General of the United States, obviously, covering something up. And then also in the recent congressional testimony, you have Kash Patel, when he was questioned about it, he said, it's suicide when you see one. I actually laughed out loud when I heard that jackass say that, because how many suicides has he seen? And what makes him an expert? He's not a forensic pathologist. He's not a doctor. He's a joker. It's suicide when you see one. So he's like perpetuated his bullshit.
And that, folks, is where the real story begins. Israeli investigators are reporting that they're digging into the case. And they have proof that Epstein is alive and blackmailing US politicians. They say the reason his corpse was released to an unnamed source was because it wasn't really a corpse. It was a body. It was alive. And it was expatriated to Israel. Check out our report from earlier this month for the full details. They say the real reason the elite couldn't just kill him off. Epstein didn't keep compromise on hard drives or hidden safes. He kept the dirty secrets locked in his head. Dead, he's worthless. A loose end tied up. Alive, he's a walking insurance policy. So where does this leave us? It leaves us staring straight into the rotted heart of the elite's agenda. An agenda built on surveillance, blackmail, and absolute control. The fact is, they've declared war on us. Still using legacy VPNs in 2026? That's like wiring your brain straight into the surveillance matrix. The globalist takeover needs one thing. Every click, every search, every move you make online in their hands. You think you're safe? Mossad has been busted spying on White House officials. Nobody's safe. That's why VP.net was built in 2025. The world's first verified privacy network. Unlike legacy VPNs, they don't promise trust, they prove it. Cryptographic proof in real time that you can't be logged because they can't see your traffic. Your data is locked in Intel SGX secure enclaves. Cryptographic vaults so secure, even the owners of VP.net are shut out. This isn't privacy by some flimsy policy, it's privacy by design. Built to break the globalist control. Strike back with VP.net/TPV. Privacy by design. Because the internet is their battlefield, and this is your shield.